This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows.
This week, Quark, episodes 0 and 1.
Commander, it's an emergency lasergram from Perma 1.
Quark, blow your reactor and save Galaxy. Nice knowing you. You know, if Andy hadn't dumped that load, we would all be extremely dead. We owe our lives to that plucky jumble of spare parts.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that trolls the ancient airwaves, scooping up TV's rejected sci-fi garbage. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
I thought we were going to say, what's your dazzle? Remember?
No, I'm not saying that.
You know, what's your dazzle?
I'm not changing my catchphrase at this point.
At this point, it's 70-something episodes in.
Now, no one wants what's your dazzle.
What's real is my dazzle.
Well, fine. We'll put a poll up on that. All right. Well, this week we're getting into a new series from 1977-78, a sci-fi comedy called Quark.
I think we should say sci-fi in quotes and comedy in quotes.
Well, it's definitely science fiction.
It's definitely science fiction. That's true. Comedy, we will see.
I mean, each era has its own comedy.
It's true.
I knew nothing going into this. I actually thought it was going to be British for some reason.
Oh, really?
I don't know why.
All I knew is we had talked about it, I think months and months ago. And I think, did you suggest this show or did I? Or did we both just come across it?
I think I found a bunch of, I just was adding stuff to the list, and that was just one of the ones.
Yeah.
And it was like, because I found like a few lists of like sci-fi comedies. I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw some of these on the list so we have a little bit of a mixture of genre.
I just remember you saying to me, I found a show about a garbage collector in space. And I was like, yep.
Oh.
Sounds good to me.
Well, if that was me, I don't recall it. So I think I maybe thought that's what Space Rangers was about.
Well, in some ways it was.
The photo of it, like every time I saw it before we watched the show, in my mind, I thought it was a sitcom about space truckers. So maybe that's why I was so disappointed about it.
You probably could recut it into a way that
It could work.
You know,
it could work.
into a tight 5 minutes.
So this show, Quark, aired between May 7th, 1977 and April 7th, 1978 on NBC. And there seems to have been two pilots for it.
Mm-hmm. And
there was a pilot that aired May 7th, and then it seems to have gone to series on May 24th with sort of a 2.0 pilot. It's interesting. The pilot episode really introduces all the characters, even though there's a character who gets removed from, like, clearly is exercised from the pilot by the second episode. And then the second episode that they put on, it's like 45 minutes long, which is interesting because I think we may have watched different episodes.
Yeah. We just discovered this maybe 10 seconds ago, that there's two versions online, and I'm going to blame this on me because I didn't do any research. I just clicked on what I found, and I didn't look into it.
I should have sent you the playlist.
So what I think has happened now is, how long was your first episode you watched?
My first episode was a regular half hour, like just 25 minutes.
Yeah, mine too. And how long was your episode 2?
Now, my episode 2 is about 45 minutes.
Okay, so mine was 25 minutes.
All right. Now, your episode 1, does it have Obi Mudd in it?
Yes, it does.
All right. So then you definitely watched the original pilot that then was retooled later with, I'm assuming your second one had Ficus in it.
Yeah, the new Doctor?
The new Doctor.
Yeah.
Did they fight the Gorgons?
Very, very momentarily.
Very momentarily. Okay, my whole second episode is all Gorgon fighting all the time.
Oh, well, this is going to be a first where you're going to have to explain some of this to me, and then I'll maybe show you where things got cut.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what came first, the 45-minute one? Or
no, the 25-minute one is episode 0. It aired in May of 77, and then in February of 78, they went to the series proper and ran their 7 episodes. So there seems to be there's a big gap between the two of them. Interesting. Well, yeah, we'll have to see if they're even the same episode. Maybe you just ended up watching episode 2 because someone thought that was the pilot.
Oh, that could be right. I could have watched episode 3.
Yeah, you might have. That might be the case. I'll send you the playlist, but you skipped. Here's the thing. When I was watching it, I watched the pilot.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was the case, that it was a 0 and a 1 until I watched the pilot, and I put on the next episode. I'm like, why is episode 2 45 minutes long?
Well, this is gonna be something. So if this is happening here in real time, I'll just be a viewer.
I'll just be just like the listener. Jordan
Yeah.
will just hear about the episode from me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into it, as I like to do, I looked into what was happening in the world around the time Quark was out. I focused on the run of the show, so sort of 78 February to May area. So much stuff.
Really?
And I tried to make it related to kind of what we talk about on the podcast, but we'll go through it. Let's see what we've got. February 27th, a few days after that second pilot airs. The first global positioning satellite is launched. March 1st, Charlie Chaplin's corpse is stolen.
Whoa! I never knew Charlie Chaplin's corpse was stolen.
Stolen, yeah. These guys dug it up and then tried to ransom it back to his widow.
Well, first, that's terrible. Secondly, how did I not know that?
I
That's
I didn't know
weird.
until I was going through this. This is why.
And that was 1978.
1978, March 1st. March 3rd, the New York Post published an article about an upcoming book called In His Image, The Cloning of a Man, in which the author claimed to have been involved in the secret cloning of a wealthy man in 1977.
So a guy wrote a book, and he
He claims he helped put together the scientists so a wealthy man could clone himself. So he's basically, this guy claimed a human being had been cloned in 1977.
but it hadn't.
I mean, it's never been disproven, but it's widely believed to be a hoax. But
Right.
the New York Post did a huge article about it.
The 70s. What a time.
What a time. That's February 27th. 4 days later is March 1st. Or less than that. 2 days later is March 1st. 2 days after that, March 3rd. This is the cloning thing. 3 days after that, March 6th, Larry Flint shot and paralyzed.
That's not funny, but there's another. There's something funny about Larry Flint, but we don't need to go into it. He's just.
Well, I mean, he's funny to look at.
It's just that. Okay, we'll cut this out of the podcast. I once saw an interview with him, and he was in his wheelchair and talking, and what he said was, "I was the first one to show pubic hair," and I remember that was like his claim to fame, and I thought, wow. What an important person in history.
What a life.
Yeah. Anyways, but he said it like very like it was something.
Sounds like Larry Flint.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump forward. 2 days later, March 8th, the first episode of the radio version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is transmitted.
It's just transmitted.
That's what they said on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Broadcast by the
I see.
BBC.
I thought maybe it was like transmitted to space.
In
or something.
space. I mean, inevitably it got there. 2 days after that, March 10th, Soyuz 28 becomes the third successful docking with the Russian space station. Third of all time. But anyway, this is just going to say, like, this is eventful, like, 2 weeks in history. That's why no one's watching Quark.
But most importantly,
Quark's going on.
Quark's going on.
All right, and then, well, I'll finish this off with two births. February 24th, the day the second pilot aired, and this one's just for me. South Korean rapper Gary was born.
I don't know who that is.
That's fine.
I like that you like that.
And then this is maybe something for our fans. In March, and I didn't write down the date, but sometime in March, Jensen Ackles was born, star of Supernatural.
Oh, okay.
You know, sci-fi guy.
But more importantly, what was the Korean rapper's name?
Gary.
Gary. Is it just Gary?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a fan now.
Yeah, Gary, he's the best.
Oh yeah, nice time.
All right, let's get into this, shall
Let's do
we?
it. Yeah. Oh man, I can't believe we might have watched opposite episodes.
That's all right. That's all right. Here is the IMDb summary for episode 0, Quark.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've edited this down quite a bit because the writer literally wrote the entire episode as the summary. It's 10:17 Galaxy time, April 2nd, as we see Quark picking up space garbage for the United Galaxy Sanitation Patrol. We are then introduced to Adam Quark and the wacky crew, Gene, Obi Mudd, the Bettys, and Andy the Android. And that was courtesy of, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name, H. Pili Pie.
All right, H. Pili Pie. I'm gonna make one correction, and that's either old H here or you. It's Gene, Gene.
Gene, Gene.
Yeah, that's how it's properly written. Gene, Gene.
there you go.
And of all the elements in the show, I would argue that has aged the worst.
I mean, it's a tight race between the Bettys, and poor Gene.
Oh, I think Gene takes it, but we'll get into it.
All right. So it kind of reveals a lot, but like the intro to the show is like kind of some fun 70s space model work. Spaceship models are just like floating around space, and
What do you think of the ship, the main ship we find as it comes in?
oh, it's a nice long. It looks like something that would be on like Battlestar Galactica or something.
Yeah.
Like all the model work is fine for the time. Like it's actually
Yeah, I think so too.
pretty good.
It's much more Star Trek than it is Star Wars.
Absolutely. And I mean, I understand that this show's on NBC, so Star Trek's network, and I think they reused some of the stuff from Star Trek in the show.
I'll tell you what they definitely reused: the sound of the computers.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and not only that, also, not that I've ripped it off, but it sounds just like our computer on our show.
That's just a coincidence, though, right?
Yeah.
Just a weird coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, we meet sort of a quick shot of the crew on the ship, and like the big reveal, as was in the summary, is like you watch them approaching the other ship and theirs, and then the big reveal is that ship poops out a big bag of garbage, and their ship's mouth, it has a mouth that opens up and two little hands that come out, and it gobbles that garbage up.
What I liked is in the future, garbage is still put in green bags.
Green garbage, just really big ones.
Yeah.
But yes, this kind of is like, this is the big reveal at the beginning before we go into like a funky electro beat theme song.
Oh, well, the theme song is great. I love the theme song. I want to make it my ringtone. But something happened right when it grabbed garbage for the first time. Laugh track.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first. I was like, oh, here we go. Because this is not a in-studio audience laugh track. It's one of those really clearly canned laugh tracks.
Oh, yeah. This is all canned laughs all the way through. We jump from there to a little bit of world building, just setting us up. We see Perma 1, the space station, which is its model is just this big floating kind of disc city. It looks all right.
Yeah, I thought so too.
We meet Dr. Otto Palindrome, the superintendent-in-chief of the station, who's greeting a variety of alien races. He lists off kind of like varieties of like alien sort of things. I got a few of them here, like humanoids, multiforms, polymorphic pods. And then like he keeps going, but the laugh track drowns out what he's saying. And I'm like, I want to hear the rest of these races.
And the creature work for for lack of a better word, let's call this a satire. I don't know if that's what this is.
It's a parody.
It's a parody. I mean, even that, it's
loose. It's a
loose parody. But the creature work's pretty good.
Good creature work.
Yeah.
They like he's basically telling them all about the United Galaxy, which is their federation, and like why Perma 1's here to protect them. And they're all cheering his speech. And like one of the aliens' head is smoking when it claps, and another one's like making weird clicking noises. And I mean, listen, the jokes in this thing are pretty hit or miss, very dated, very of their time. But I will say, when the aliens are cheering, there's a moment when he finishes speech, and they all clap for him, and then one alien just keeps clapping for too long, and he just like, wait, I was like,
yeah,
that tickled me. It was just like, I'm like, some of these comedy beats are, some of them still.
No, there's not many, but they go for it.
And of course, as he's giving them the speech, telling them how safe it is on Perma 1, behind him in classic like Naked Gun fashion, there's a disaster happening behind him, and the whole station's being threatened. This is the kind of jokes we're in this sort of
I actually wish there was more jokes like that and less just people saying things and kind of raising an eyebrow to the audience.
What?
Yeah, and I'm like, what's the joke?
Anyway, that kind of sets up the world we're in, and we hop back to the another part of the galaxy where we get to meet Commander Quark properly as he's sitting down to do his own version of the captain's log, a diary that they'll come to call a star note.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do like is I don't know if it'll come in other episodes. We'll find out, I guess. You may already know this answer if you've watched ahead.
Yeah.
His little pet Ergo, the weird slug thing that comes out of its cage, and he like seems to want to kill him. That's the only thing. But it's just like a clear plastic bag, basically, with two eyes on either end. But it moves around real cool. It sounds exactly like this sound effect thing we got from our listener. Well, I'm going to play right now.
Yeah.
That's the sound it makes. I'm like, it's our stick.
It's probably just that's all they did. But yeah, it actually looks, they basically, I think Ergo has an eye on either side of him.
Yes.
But yeah, he just sort of looks like the mix of a plastic bag and a sock.
Yeah, he's like a little slug thing, and he's constantly trying to kill Quark. I like that little slug thing. I was like, that's fun. I like this weird slug. It moves around, gross. Anyway, through this diary, we basically get introduced to all the characters on the ship. There's the two Bettys, who are second in command and also kind of the pilots of the ship. Essentially, she's a woman and her own clone. And I mean, what, like, basically
the joke is either
they're always speaking at the same time.
Yeah, they're always speaking at the same time. It's real, like, it's twins. Can you believe it?
They're scantily clad.
Yeah, they only ever like wear whatever shows off as much of their legs as possible. And
very ditzy. Yeah,
they're dumb blondes, and they love the lead character for no real reason. And it's either that they know there's who the clone is and who's not, and they don't want to say it, or they both actually think they're the real person. It doesn't really matter because the joke is just like, can you believe I got 2 women and they both love me?
Well, that's what's kind of weird though is about that too. Is like you would think that's the joke, but like the joke that's running is just like, I really love Betty too, but only the original, and I can't figure out which one that is. Like he just like like it's constantly about him not making a move because he can't figure out which one is which is weird.
But they are weirdly attracted to him for no reason because he shows you nothing. There's no reason why anyone would be attracted to this guy.
I mean, this is.
It's the
we
70s.
will barely talk about her, I'm sure, for most of the series because her only role and all the jokes about her is just she's like kind of ditzy.
Yeah.
And like scantily clad. That's it. Like honestly, most of my notes largely don't talk about her because I'm just like it's always the same joke over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the same is a little bit true with our next character, Gene, the chief engineer.
Yeah. And now, before you explain what this character is, you get to see him do some voices and things, and I didn't know what was happening the first scene or two. I was like, what is that supposed to be? The performance, I will say, if you aren't told what he's doing, you're not going to know.
It's going to be very confusing. He's described as a transmute, both male and female.
Yeah.
But
how does that manifest itself?
That's the thing, is it doesn't manifest itself. Like I was just like, oh, that's a weird idea for this time period, but it's really more like a TV version of multiple personalities. Like he's either talking in an effeminate voice or he's talking in a masculine voice, and they don't even seem to be related to the same human being.
You think, oh, that's a really weird progressive idea, but it's not. Basically what you have is the guy's a guy. He's just like, hey, I'm an engineer, I do work. But the woman is constantly stupid and naggy and like, I like crochet. And that's it's as if they've never you've only been told of what a woman is before.
That is the one thing I was like, oh man, is this going to be like really offensive as far as like transgender people? I'm like, oh, it's more just offensive to women.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they don't even have the idea of what that might be in their heads. It's just like sometimes he's a man, sometimes his personality is a woman, but the woman's just annoying.
Well, that's what the male side of the character is competent, and the female character is just there to be annoyingly emotional.
Well, it's funny. In the episode you probably didn't watch, they almost don't use the female Gene at all.
Oh.
And the male Gene in the entire episode is basically portrayed as some sort of like warmongering like madman, which is very different from the episode he first appeared in. I feel like I'm just like, because no one has any idea what they're doing with this character. In fact, and this is another character I don't think we'll talk about much, because in the episodes I watched anyway, has nothing to do, just other than the same joke over and over again.
Right.
And so one thing that I thought was kind of funny, and I'm sure it's completely unrelated, but have you seen Legion?
Yes.
Now, in Legion, first going back to the Bettys, they have kind of a group of robots who are all kind of very attractive women who are all like pretty like tightly clad and kind of walking around, a little bit eye candy, but they all have mustaches on, but they all kind of talk at the same time. And like they're when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, like my mind went there for some reason. And then when they introduced Gene and Gene, there's those characters in that show who share the body, Carrie and Carrie. Obviously much better done. It's like two people, a man and a woman, who share a body and one can only exist at one time. I was just like, it's so weird that I just was watching, I'm like, there's like a weird parallel to Legion that I'm sure is totally random, and only because I just probably watched it a few months ago.
Right. But this does bring us to Dr. Obi Mudd,
the research and equipment specialist.
I know, spoiler, Dr. Obi Mudd is not going to be in it later
replaced immediately.
because both episodes we watched, he's gone. I kind of like Dr. Obi Mudd. He's stupid. It's a dumb character, but I was like, he's basically an old guy who may or may not be crazy. He's got a patch in his eye, and I think later on they say the reason he has a patch in his eye is because he fell asleep looking into a stethoscope.
A microscope.
A microscope, excuse me. Oh, yeah, he wouldn't be looking into a
stethoscope.
Yes, that's funny too.
Doctor, are you sure you're a real doctor?
That's actually funnier. They should have changed that line.
But yeah, he's like got a big beard. He's a real grizzled. He's a real grizzled old man. And I mean, it's very funny because for most of the screen time, he gets the most screen time of all the side characters in this episode, for sure. And he primarily is either asking to be transferred, being a bigot towards Gene and Gene.
Yeah, he really doesn't like Gene and Gene.
Or there's some like talking about how he's created our next character kind of thing. But it's very funny because like all this asking to be transferred, it worked. He's off the show.
But you did mention, who's the next character?
The character he built is Andy the android.
Yeah.
He's a classic big boxy robot.
Mm-hmm.
He got a big clear head with like glowing light eyeballs and like spinning doodads in the box on his head. A lot of fun. This little robot. Not much going on in this episode, and I'll tell you all about him next episode. He's much better in the next episode. But yes, the idea is Obi Mudd's been trying to perfect him, and like there's some cute scenes where like the Quark will walk up to him and he's just like, and he gives the robot something, and the robot's just like, "Thank you," and Quark's like, "Thank you." He's like, "More welcome."
Yeah, that's the joke.
That's the joke. He can't say thank you.
Yeah,
it's very cute.
That's it. I didn't know if I found it that cute. I thought, I wonder how long they're going to do this joke for, and the answer is 3 hours. 3 hours. They did the joke for?
Was there more in the next episode?
No, they just kept doing it.
Well, yeah, this is the only. This thing with Andy too. He'll barely be in this episode as well. Like they really focus on Obi Mudd. Like these other characters are kind of like one-note jokes for the most of this pilot, and it's very funny because in the next episode I watched, since Obi Mudd's knocked out, they retcon it so that it's Quark's robot. Quark's been working on him this whole time. They really retcon Obi Mudd right out of the show. Also, kind of mentioned during this diary thing, which is just some interesting world building for the show, is Earth has been abandoned long ago, and Quark himself he's a descendant of Americans.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and who did ancient humans used to worship?
Oh, and who also governed them? It was a fully clothed talking mouse.
So stupid. Stupid. Like that's the level of the jokes. Like they look like jokes, they smell like jokes, but they're not really jokes.
I mean, that wasn't the worst joke in the show.
No, that's true.
But what about this, Jordan? How much did you enjoy the little portholes that are slides they jump into?
I did like that.
Anytime they leave a room, a little porthole opens and they jump into it, and it's just a slide that slides them down another room.
That was pretty good.
I don't know how they get back
also,
up.
I do fun. Like, not to ruin if it's in your little notes there. Your little notes. I say unintentionally patronizing. Yeah, your little notes over there. Is they also have a food dispenser, which is a big tube that they all sit down at a table, pull down a big, I think it's like a yellow tube or a yellow end on it, and they both put it in their mouth, and what looks like just a big piece of poop flows down and goes into their mouth, and they're like, great. And that happens a couple times.
Well, they call it, I liked with it because they're like, time to ingest.
Yeah. Oh, I should say that at work. Time to ingest, everyone.
Time to ingest. Did you catch what night it was? What dinner night it was?
No, what was it?
It was special treat night. And,
is that it?
Yeah, and then they were served hearts of plankton, hot space biscuits.
That's pretty good.
Puree of asteroid germ, and something else I couldn't understand. And they concluded with some wine as a moistening agent.
What were they, muffins? Space muffins?
Hot space muffins.
Hot space muffins, yeah. Those are my favorite.
And then like that's the big gag is they list off their menu and then just a blob falls into their mouth.
Yeah, it just looks like a big pile of poo.
Anyway, let's get to the plot, shall we? Of this episode. So palindrome on Perma 1, he's using an interface to call their leader, and the interface is like a old timey telephone operator with four arms.
Yeah,
but he's calling his boss, which is the head. Which is just a giant head, a big giant head.
But here's the thing, he looks a lot. Yeah, he looks a lot like the same character's design as Vincent Price in the 1960s Batman show.
Right,
very similar, but there's a little bit larger head. And I was like, I like this. This character is an alien or whatever he is. It's just a head, but they kind of ruin the gag later on because you see his hands.
I guess that's true.
They give him like a piece of paper or something. He has hands. I'm like, oh, like. You couldn't figure a way around this. Like, there's actually funny gags. What if the paper's in his mouth or something? But
they
anyway,
weren't working hard enough.
Anyways, he's essentially supposed to be a floating head, and occasionally you see his hands.
I mean, I like that big giant head is just like the go-to for sci-fi comedy, just like Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's just that's what they go for. They're talking about a large explosion that happened in the M82 sector that has propelled an enzyme cloud toward Perma 1 in populated space, and it's metabolizing everything in its path, including gravity.
This is real Space Ranger science, huh?
Yeah, it truly is. And of course, there's only one ship in the area that will be able to intercept it, which is Quark, of course.
Did the ship have a name?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they always just say it's Adam Quark.
Yeah, I think it's Adam Quark's ship. And no one respects Quark. That much is clear.
Yeah.
And they basically are like, hey, at least he has a military service record. He did active duty during the Sagittarius Rebellion.
Yeah.
But who was he captured by, Jordan?
I know it was a potato species.
Yes, the solenoids, an animated, mildly intelligent species of tubers, or dissident potatoes.
You know what? That was pretty good.
There are a few like
There's a few ones.
small bon
Yeah,
mots.
yeah. Like even Dissident Potatoes, even on the page, is pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
pretty good. But keep in mind, there's a lot of dead air between these.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, they kind of realize what they can do is if Quark flies into the enzyme cloud, sets his reactor to explode, he can stop the cloud. It's a suicide mission, but no one likes Quark, so
Yeah.
fuck it. Unfortunately for them, they can't get through to him because there's interference from the cloud. So the head and Palindrome will spend most of the episodes trying to send a lasergram, which is a telegram.
Yeah, it's a telegram. Yeah, like a space telegram. But the joke is, again, quote on joke, is that they have to pay by the word. So they spend the whole time arguing about what the message should be because they don't want to spend
Too much money. They're
too
trying to
much
cut
money.
words out of the message.
Yeah, out of the message. But every time they cut a word, it doesn't really it makes less sense. That's the joke.
Yeah. Anyway, so while this message isn't being sent, Mud on the spaceship he notices this enzyme cloud in his readings, which is weird because he sort of talks about how like it might hit them and turn them into space jelly, but then nobody does anything about it. They're just like, all right, time to ingest and then go to bed.
Yeah. Did you notice, by the way, in one shot, what the book Dr. Obi Mudd was reading?
No, I missed it.
He was reading a book called The Perception of Moving Trash. That was pretty good.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
They're gonna get some sleep in their cryogenopods.
Yeah. So they're just like your sort of sleek looking pill looking beds that they go into
And
for
are
seemingly
frozen.
for like
2 months.
Yeah, months. Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I kind of like this. Like, I like they didn't have warp drive. I kind of like they're like, oh, this is like alien technology. They have to get frozen. Wherever they're going, it's going to be 2 months away. And the gag kind of here is he's like, he sets the thing. He's like, all right, set it for 2 months from now, May 7th. Wake us up at 7 a.m. And Gene's just like, why so early? The joke being this up for 2 months and they got to get up at 7 a.m.
Yep. That's the joke.
It's very relatable though, because who wants to get up at 7 a.m.?
It's true. It is very relatable. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Of course, before they can get to bed, though, the ship is hit by a gravity warp, which is them like sliding around the ship, flopping around.
Yeah.
Because just like the original Star Trek, they got hit by something or another. Basically, they're inside the cloud, the enzyme cloud, and the ship's being dissolved around them, but they don't really do anything to save the day. Do you remember how the day is saved?
Yes, there's a little subplot of Andy, and Andy's the robot, and he keeps accidentally thinking parts of the ship are robots, or at least one specific part of the ship is
the
a robot.
garbage control is a robot,
And he's basically trying
is
to
cute.
force.
He's molesting it a little.
Yes, he's molesting the ship a little bit because he's in love with it, and he accidentally
He rips
gyrates or something. Yeah,
he
rips it
like
out.
rips it clean while he's like trying to dance with it or something. It ejects the garbage from the ship. The enzyme cloud changes paths to follow the garbage to eat that, and they inadvertently save the day.
Yeah. So thanks,
Andy.
horny robot.
Horny robot. I did like at the end where they're like, "Well, Andy," because they're all congratulating him. Like, "You saved us, Andy. You tore that garbage disposal off. The garbage control and saved us." He's like, "You're talking about my fiance."
That's the episode.
It is crazy. Like they're all cheering. They finally get the message from Perma One, which essentially says, "Blow yourself up. Nice knowing you."
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
It sort of like just ends with them being like, "Hey, good work, Quark and crew. We're giving you a new mission now. You're going to scour the galaxy, but also pick up garbage still."
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode. It's
Yep.
Very, very sitcom.
And it really felt like a pilot.
Oh yeah, 100%. They had no idea. Like it felt like, we'll figure this out later.
We'll figure this out as we go along, yeah. So that's an episode. Now, the next episode, let's just double check we actually watched different episodes. My episode is about Quark aging rapidly.
No, not at all.
Okay. So I don't know how you want to do this.
Well, because we have a guest coming in next week.
Right. Let's do your episode.
We probably should do my episode.
Yep, okay.
I mean, think of it this way. One last episode for you to watch.
That's true.
And
That's
you don't have
true.
to watch the 45-minute double episode.
That's true. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close my computer.
All right.
And I'm just going to like lean back, rest, close my eyes, and you're just going to take me to a dreamland of science fiction.
Let me pepper me with some questions.
Yeah, of course I will.
All right.
Well, I'm going to have them because I have no idea what's happening.
Here is the IMDb summary for episode 1. May the source be with you.
I'm going to hate this episode already.
Wouldn't that
make an interesting conversation. Say, don't you have a mission or something?
I'm supposed to seek out and destroy the High Gorgon's doomsday ship.
Well, that should keep you busy.
Palindrome, it's huge, it's fast, it's powerful. What am I supposed to do, ram it with my souped-up garbage ship?
Oh, you're always asking for a good mission, Quark.
This is too good. Nobody could do this and survive.
Nobody but you, Quark. You got one of the finest crews in the fleet, don't you?
Well, they're good with garbage, but what can an emotional transmute, a homemade robot, a Betty, her clone, and a plant do against the Gorgon's doomsday ship?
Panic is breaking loose at Perma 1 as the head summons Palindrome, Quark, and other spaceship commanders to tell them that they will soon do battle with their arch enemies, the dreaded Gorgons. Courtesy again from H. Pilepew? How would you say this? It's a P.
Yeah.
Followed by a Y. Followed by an L. Followed by another Y. Followed by another P. Followed by an I. Followed by a W.
Pilly Pew. Something like that.
Something like that.
They'll write it and let us know.
So as mentioned before, Obi Mudd is out. He's removed from the episode. And we can talk a little bit about this. They introduce a new character to replace him, a character named Ficus, who is basically a Spock surrogate.
Is that what he was supposed to be?
Well, in this episode, him and Quark mostly argue about like human emotions and whether they're useful or not. So he's very like straightforward. He doesn't do anything.
See, skipping this episode, I thought he was just in the next episode. I was like, why is there just like a grumpy guy in this?
I think he's supposed to have like no emotions.
Right, okay.
Do you know what he is?
No, he's just a grumpy guy.
He is a plant.
Okay.
That's why his name is Ficus. He's a plant man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely not there in episode 2, 3.
See all the nuances you missed?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Anyway, it starts on Perma 1. There's a Gorgon alert sounding. You'll be sorry you missed this, though. While everyone's panicking, a little cousin-it-like alien runs around and has some interactions. Very, very cute.
And do we get to see the Gorgons in this episode?
We do.
Oh, I am disappointed.
Don't be. The Gorgons have they developed a devastating new weapon, and the High Gorgon is on its way to United Space to kind of like overthrow them. The Gorgons are basically a humanoid race. They just look like humans.
Oh, really?
But they're all dressed in black. They're kind of like a cross between like Darth Vader and maybe like a lawn hockey team. Like they kind of look like they're wearing sportswear, but it's all black. And
I was hoping it was in the first episode. Remember, there's a big guy. There's like a guy who looks like an insect, but with a big cloak. I was
yeah.
That's what I was hoping they looked like.
No, they really cheaped out on these ones. I was really when they finally showed them, I was like, ah. And the High Gorgon, he's just like a 70s tough guy. Like it's not really that exciting either. And he's definitely supposed to be their Darth Vader or whatever. He's all in black. His one distinguishing characteristic is he's missing one hand, so he has this stump on one arm that has like a little like latch on it. So he's constantly attaching new attachments to it.
That's fun.
I wish they'd more Naked Gunned it. There's only like a couple things that are really good. Like somewhere, he needs to talk to someone, so they put like a little phone, like a little microphone on his hand, which is whatever. There's one point where he's just like he's like, I need to think. Bring me my hand, and they put a hand on his stump, and he just pulls it to his face.
Yeah, that's not a bad gag.
Okay. It was an okay gag. And later in the episode, he'll get like a mace with spikes on it attached.
Right.
But that's basically, they don't really go all out with it. Like you think you could push that like attachment thing a little further. The ship they fly around in, though, is amazing. It is a giant robot head. So imagine like Darth Vader's helmet, but with like bigger eyes, and like it's all kind of like outlined in black and red, and it's the size of a planet. So it's gigantic.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge. It's so big that as it's flying toward the United Galactic Space or whatever it's called, it flies up to the most fierce warrior planet Sparta, home of the Spartans.
Okay. And are the Spartans a different race?
Apparently, I'm not sure. We don't
different
see them.
Species, or
we don't see them. They call down and say, "Surrender to us," and they're like, and the Spartans are like, "Never. We've never surrendered to anyone in all time. We'll come out there and blow up your ship." And they're like, "Where is it?" And all we see out there is a giant planet. And they're like, "Yeah, that's our ship." And they're like, "All right, well, welcome to the ship. It's all yours." That's the whole joke.
Right.
That's how big the ship is. So they surrender immediately. And so the only thing left to stop the Gorgons is Palindrome in the head assigned Quark another suicide mission to go stop the Gorgons. And Quark does not appreciate it. He's not happy about it. But they're going to give him the most legendary weapon they have.
It's going to be, let's see, knowing this show, it will be a box of tissues.
It's the Source.
What's the Source?
They go to a special room, open up a glowing orb to reveal the source, which has been used in 200 years. And it is a disembodied voice that provides advice.
Huh.
So the whole episode, there's just a disembodied voice constantly chatting. And
That if there's anything that sounds like a budget cut, that's it, huh?
and the whole gag is it's a little unconfident, so it needs you to believe in it, or it can't believe in itself. For instance, when the crew is sent to intercept the Gorgons, it sort of reveals to everyone that if they don't believe in it, it can't work. You know, a la Tinkerbell. So he tells Quark to take this ball bearing out of the stomach of Andy and hold it in the air, and the entire crew is to take out their gamma guns, set them to pinprick mode, and shoot them at Quark, and he needs to stop them with this like ball bearing to prove he believes in him. And if he believes, the source will help guide his hand, and he just gets shot a million times with this.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
Funny.
Yeah. The jokes in this are, you know what it is? They all feel like they're really close. They're really close to a tone and a feeling for the show, but more often than not, it's like they just went with their first idea and they just went with it, and they were like, man, this is as good as it's gonna get.
We gotta
You
write
know?
10 more of these.
Yeah, exactly.
They arrive at the Gorgon ship. The source kind of tells them, hey, it's the size of a planet. Go land in this sector. It'll put you close to their power source. We can like take care of this whole problem. Of course, the source is wrong. He lands them in the wrong place. That's
Not a very good 200-year-old weapon.
well, he's really lost his confidence in that time in that sphere, I guess. And most of the episode will be Quark talking to us this self-pitying voice the whole time. So I'd say get used to it, but you don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they infiltrate the Gorgon ship, and this is kind of my favorite parts of the episode is they infiltrate the Gorgon ship. And as they leave, Andy's like, in this episode, they really introduced the idea that Andy, the robot, is a coward. That's his whole trait, is he's
Really?
afraid of everything. He doesn't want to leave the ship. And so they're like, fine, you stay on the ship and you just like stall the guards when they get here. We know they're going to come, just stall them. So the guards show up and they're like, what are you doing here? And he's just like, I'm just your friendly galactic garbage man. And they're like, well, prove it. Use the ship. And he like touches a couple buttons and like the console bursts into fire. And he just like gives up everybody. He's just like cowardly gives up the entire crew. And his whole character, this whole episode is just him constantly selling them out, constantly just trying to like save his own skin.
So what do you like better? Cowardly Andy or Andy that's a sexual predator?
I like cowardly Andy. I felt like once we got into this part with this episode where Andy was just like desperate to like not get hurt and desperate, even though he like clearly likes the crew, it takes no amount of pressure for him to give them up. It was a fun little Jordan, you just have to imagine it.
I'm imagining it right now.
That's why you have that frown on your face.
well, you know, that's just my natural state.
Anyway, the crew kind of explores the ship, and from here on, we kind of just like discard characters. Like they just don't know what to do with anyone. So like,
Right.
Gene, for some reason, gets on an elevator that's full of guards, and then as we check back in with him throughout the episode, he's basically on like a PG killing spree. He's just murdering Gorgons left and right, and they'll basically bump into him at the end of the episode to get back on the ship as he's been killing Gorgons.
Right, because he's a man's
Like
man.
his whole uniform's in tatters because he's been killing them with his hands.
Right.
The Bettys are at some point left at a communications device to call to Perma 1 to update them on the mission. They'll spend most of the episode waiting on hold with Perma 1 in front of this communications device until a like line forms behind them to also use the phone. And like there's just they try to make gags out of it, like they pretend not to know each other because they, for some reason,
Why?
I don't
No
know.
reason?
No reason.
Even though they look exactly the same when they talk together?
Like that's the gag, I guess. They're like, well, we can't let them know we know each other, and they look the same. And then like at some point when the line's there, one of the Bettys is like, oh no, they're gonna notice I'm calling Perma 1, distract them, and she like bends over to tie her shoe, and they're all like, what?
Yeah.
Classic gags.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Benny Hill runs across
Yeah,
the screen back and
exactly.
forth.
And finally, Ficus at some point he's fighting some Gorgons, letting Quark escape, and his gamma gun shot out of his hand, and he's captured, and he's brought to be tortured, and he's tortured as you torture a plant, being denied water under a heat lamp.
Because in the episode I watched, there's no indication that he's a plant. Is there anything that actually makes you think? No,
They just tell you he's a plant.
he's just a plant. Well,
I am a plant, they say.
done.
Anyway, so the majority of the episode is Quark basically getting to this power center, which is kind of fun. Like this is the Star Trek parody part. They finally get there with the source guiding him. The door opens, and it's like a plank, like a really skinny long plank, going out to like a classic glowing orb power source in the middle of this room. But underneath the plank, it's just like fire and lava everywhere, and this giant insect mite flopping around in the lava, like reaching up trying to grab him. And he's just like, how am I gonna get across this giant?
Is it a puppet?
No, it's like a man in a suit.
Oh.
It's like really weird though. It's just like, it's like the gag, I guess, of all these dangerous rooms they went in Star Trek. But now it's just like a pit of lava and fire with just a weird like mite, like, or the that like thing from Star Trek Discovery that they get, that big.
Oh yeah, the tardigrade.
Yeah, it's like, it looks like a tardigrade basically flopping around down there. They're at the power source, but unfortunately, the source neglected to mention they need to bring a UTE bomb. And there's some fun arguing here where he's just like, I told you, Quark, to bring it. And Quark's like, you didn't. He's like, I did. Like, you didn't. And they argue about that for a while. It's fun, Jordan. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't know how fun that is, but I'm just picturing, because what do you think of Quark himself as a character?
You know what? He's not great, but the actor playing him,
He's going for it.
is kind of wormy enough that if he weren't being written as a straight hero, or like some very like,
You know what? You're right, because I wasn't sure how I felt about him, but I think you've hit it there. Is that they just need to push it a little more, the kind of like sadness and kind of patheticness, and that he's like, there's maybe a reason why he is,
and I think
kind of the armpit of the universe.
and he could get there. I feel like that actor could get there pretty easily,
But they don't go for it.
they haven't gone there.
Yeah, they want the joke that he's still like, I'm just telling you, get ready for the next episode.
Right. Well, wait till you hear this next joke in this episode. They're arguing about like how they didn't bring a bomb. Gorgon guard comes up, and the source is just like, I'll protect you, and they like shoot at each other. And I guess the source, like the guy misses and shoots himself or something. The source is like, that was me. But somehow, and I was going to ask you because I could not figure out how this happened. Well, this like brief firefight where they both miss each other happens. Quark is blinded, and now we'll spend the next 10 minutes completely blind.
Really?
Yeah. So the source is just guiding him around the ship and like leading him. He leads him to Ficus, and he like busts into the room, and he's just like holding his gun in the wrong place. He's like, put him up, everybody. And they're like, who are you pointing at? And then he turns, he's like, you, obviously. And there's just like a series of jokes about how he can't look in the right place and blah, blah, blah. Saves Ficus. Ficus thankfully knows how to build a bomb. They bump into Andy, who's through a series of pratfalls escaped his captors. They have to, once again, build up the source's confidence by chanting, we want the source.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. We want the source. We want the source. Yeah, I like that. I can get behind a good chant.
That was that entire thing. Anyway, they cut to commercial break. They come back. They've got the bomb. Like there's been no muddling around. They set the bomb. He sets for an hour. The source calls him a chicken, basically. Tells him to set it for 20 minutes. They settle on 30 minutes. Little,
Now, did you mention the source? He's in a box, right?
No, there's nothing.
Oh, so he doesn't even carry him around.
He's just a disembodied voice that follows them around.
That's stupid.
There's not in anything. It's just like a voice that's constantly floating around them.
And a not confident voice.
And there's some indication because High Gorgon finds out they have the source. And he's like, and like they cut to him. He's just like, they have the source. He's very dangerous to whoever side he's on. But they never go into further detail what that means. Anyway, they now, make a retreat back to the ship, pick up all the crew members they left behind on the way. There's a quick fight where the High Gargon shows up with his mace and spike, and like he fights Quark, and like basically what happens is Quark just ducks and he gets his arm stuck in a wall.
Right.
And it's just like, so they all get away and they fly away, and there's like this big shot of the giant spaceship exploding, classic 70s fireworks style. Like it's just like you cut and it's just like fireworks exploding, blah blah. And then a call comes over and they're getting hailed, and it's the High Gorgon. He's not dead. He got away. But he tells Quark, he's like, you made a powerful enemy today. I'm going to hold this grudge forever. And Quark gets all sniveling. He's just like, it's nothing personal. Just do my job.
Classic Quark.
Classic Quark. We jump back to Perma 1. Quark, Strange is a touching moment. Like they try to do a touching moment where he puts the source back in his sphere and the source is going to go back in. But like they have a weird touching moment where he's just like, you did great, source. When you're back in 200 years, you'll do great. It was a weirdly, I kept waiting for a joke and it just never came. And it kind of closes out again with another kind of like, you did great, Quark. The head, Palindrome and I here. The head's like, Quark, for saving us, I want to give you a promotion. I'm going to give you your own starship. which he kind of has, but I guess they're going to give him a better starship is the idea. And he's just like, Quark's like, thank you, sir. He's like, but I need my crew to come with me. And the head's like, okay, well, never mind. And then he walks out and like the rest, and then he's just like, what? I should have said yes first and then tried to get my crew. He's like, who says that? Who says never mind?
This is not going to be a spoiler, but in the next episode, he tells everyone, again, it's like, well, we may have a mission. And if we do it right, he's like, you're all going to get a starship. But there's no indication that was ever said. And also why. It's just like, I think that's just going to be like this weird dangling carrot
they're doing
thing.
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you didn't watch it, but what I will say about the second episode is it was like a better improvement. It was more of an adventure.
So was the third episode. As again, once a spoiler, the pilot was the weakest of the episodes.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely it was a step forward on the show. It was just like it wasn't like perfect by any means, but like it at least like had a couple more jokes. Still some terrible jokes. Still some really problematic stuff. I bet less of it because they really didn't talk to those characters much. And it felt just like a little like it's like I'm like, oh well, this is a little more like a pilot of a parody of a science fiction show.
Right.
Certainly more than that first episode anyway. But Jordan, I've now described an entire episode. This is the first for us.
It is weird, but it's funny because we got through these pretty fast, both of them. And the thing is, these are very, very short on plot.
Oh,
but what's
short.
also weird is they're also very short on character, which is none of that's necessarily a bad thing. You can have sitcoms that have really strong characters and they carry it. This though, and I don't know if it's gonna get there. The characters aren't strong enough to carry this show, at least not yet.
Not yet.
So
It's very gag driven, and the gags are very hit and miss, and mostly miss.
So you have a show that it feels very stutter stop because you don't really engage with any of the characters. So it's just like, what is this show?
Well, I mean, we'll see what. I mean, you've obviously watched the next episode, but I feel like from what you're describing, even in slightly of the next episode, it sounds like the characters are even like inconsistent from episode to episode too.
Yeah, I think it's just
except for maybe Betty.
Yeah, maybe Betty because she's
Ditsy.
Yeah, that's it. She's just there to be like, isn't she pretty and stupid, just the way you want them? You know,
I mean, that's definitely the thesis of the show.
Yeah.
All right, I got some final notes before we do the rating.
Okay.
The head. We've seen this actor before, apparently.
He did look familiar. Who is he? I wasn't sure if it was just from because I've seen him in TV at that time.
I don't think we would have recognized him, but he was in the Quester tapes.
Oh, who was?
He was an immigration officer.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that.
But we've also encountered Andy before.
Oh, really? The person who did the voice of Andy?
No, played Andy, yes. He was in Planet of the Apes. He played two apes, Remus and Arno.
Which ones were they? Do you remember?
I have it here. Remus was in The Good Seed. He was the farmer's son who built all the contraptions.
Oh, who did the human face?
No.
Human impersonation? No?
No, it was the little son who like built all the contraptions. Okay. Sorry.
Well, at least I remember the episode.
And the other one, Arno, he was in the pilot. He was the kid who discovers the spaceship at the first episode.
Oh, I do remember that, yeah.
So that's Andy the android.
What a wild...
all these celebrities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. All these celebrities, yeah.
All right, Jordan, let's rate it. Let's rate Quark, since we've both seen that one.
It's so weird. Yeah. What do you give the first one?
I'm going to give it a 4, I think.
I'm actually a little surprised. I'm going to be more generous. I'm going right down the middle, 5.
Well,
5 out of 10.
And I mean, here's the thing about that is I think I'm leaning harder on it. It's not good. Like, and it's one of these things like I'm like, it's definitely like incredibly problematic at points, but I guess we try not to dock them too much. That
we have waved over the more problematic parts of this.
We allow our brain to shut off for those moments. But for the second episode, which was kind of a second revision pilot, I think I'm giving it a 4 because I just felt like the second pilot
did a better job.
So I would give it a 6, the second pilot.
Okay.
And I think if you want to give it a pass, a waiver, you're welcome to.
I think I have to.
Yeah,
I mean, I can just say based on your
my reading,
your retelling, a 6. But I would say I have to take a pass on this.
Fair
one.
enough.
It's a first. It's a first for us.
I'm impressed. It's never happened before.
Yeah.
What a wild episode.
But you know what? I feel like I was there.
Well, I know you feel relieved you didn't watch 45 minutes.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that they would have ever aired that, because if you think about it, the show has trouble sustaining itself for 25 minutes, and to do an hour long it's like you guys are not doing the show any favors.
When I put on my second episode and I saw it was 45 minutes, I was just like, what is going on? And I went to the other episodes. I'm like, all the other ones are 25 minutes. Why is the second episode 45 minutes? Only later to realize it's a redo of the pilot. Anyway, that's about it for this episode of Continuum Drag. If you want to talk to us about Quark, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. And of course, on Instagram and Twitter, we'll have some clips from these episodes. I guess I'll pull stuff from the hour-long one since you have no idea what's in it.
Yeah, and I'll pull from the first one.
But you know what? I think there's a couple. I think we should at least have 7 good clips out of these things, like that weird Urgo the Slug.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I definitely got to find that weird engine room with the like bug thing in the like swamp. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I want to actually see what the disembodied voice doesn't look like.
I know
that's a great clip.
You won't believe what it doesn't look like. Anyway, Jordan, it was a pleasure doing this podcast with you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for the next episode where we'll watch the same episodes.
Well, yeah, were you gonna watch another episode? You'll watch it again, though, right?
I can't wait to watch it again. Here's a tease for everyone. Quark gets old.
All right, see you, everybody.
See you then.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rexedler. Produced by Jordan Delic and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Yunes, Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Jane McRae, and Stephen Packard.